really embarrassing. So things like that. We've never dropped bodies. We've seen other funeral homes picking up from us drop a body, and that's rough.
This is Small Business Celebration, where we introduce you to successful small business owners at their place of business so that you can learn something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business and get your next big breakthrough. Welcome to another fantastic episode here on Small Business Celebration. We're going to be talking about how do you teach sales if you can't sell yourself. We're also going to be talking about how to guide your children through a seemingly awkward business. And to guide us through all this is Kenny Mount, the co-owner of Mission Family Mortuary. Welcome to Small Business Celebration.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to have you here. Yeah.
And for Visioneers who don't know who you are, who are you and what is it that you do?
My name is Kenny Mount, and I am a junior partner here at Mission Family Mortuary in Bakersfield, California.
Now, Visioneers, some of you are a wicked lot. We have, as you all know, we get a lot of questions from Visioneers just like you on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and asking about this and that and the other thing. And one of the things that has been popping up, for years, here we are in season 7, is when are you going to interview a mortuary? And so here we are. And last season we were interviewing Johnny Ramos over at Modern Gigi, and we were doing a follow-up interview with him and talking about this and that and the other thing. And guess who should show up while we were talking?
Yep.
Kenny. And we said, Kenny, come on, would you join us on the show? And you said,
absolutely, yes.
And so here we are. Now,
were we on our electric skateboards?
absolutely.
We were, okay, yeah.
And dressed to the nines.
That's how you get around downtown.
How did you get involved with this? Because this is not something that most people just wake up one day and say, I think I'm going to be a mortician.
I was working a few jobs. I was working 3 jobs to be exact.
Right.
And my wife said, hey, you need to get one job that makes the same amount because you can't work this many hours.
Right.
And I said, okay. I wanted to be in law enforcement. That was my dream. I wanted to help people.
Right.
So a friend, Kathy Calvillo, she said, go to Hillcrest and the East Side and apply for salesmen selling plots.
Okay.
And that's where I started.
All right.
30 days later, I said, I can't do this. I don't like it.
I can't sell.
I can't sell anyone. They would tell me, oh, this is expensive, and I didn't have the things to tell them to make them understand the value. You know, salesman talk.
And by the way, you really need to upsell the XYZ thing because we really need to make more money.
Yeah, and that's how it is because you get paid off of how much you sell in this pre-planning. Yeah, I didn't like it. So I went to the general manager and said, hey, I'm leaving. I don't like that selling stuff. And he said, you're going to be great helping families on the mortuary side. And that's where I found my niche. So.
How did you get involved with this business?
Well, David Mish and myself own the funeral home now, but his dad, Ray Mish, is the one who really brought me up and took me under his wing and taught me everything he knew. He taught me everything I know. I am a little Ray Mish.
Okay.
So he took me under his wing. I called him Dad. He adopted my kids, and because his son and daughter didn't have kids, so we had 3 girls, and he said, these are my grandkids, and he treated them like it. And my wife at the time, he was happy to have another daughter-in-law. So. Yeah.
What was your first meeting with Ray like? Because this is legendary.
Yeah, so I'm at the service center. It's a cluster where...
This is at Hillcrest.
It's at Hillcrest, yeah. And they service, they own so many funeral homes, and they would send out employees to each one. And there was a Mish service in Oildale, which Ray brought up from the ground up and grew it. And they said, would you mind going to Mish? Would you want to go over there? And I said, yeah, I don't care. And they said, do you know who Mr. Mish is? And I said, I haven't met him yet, but so. And they said, okay, well, if you're okay with going over, please. Yeah. So I called over and asked him what time I need to be there. And I was used to being there an hour before service time. Then we're there at the service a half an hour. That's not the Mish way.
Okay.
No, 3 hours.
3 hours?
2.5, and you're leaving the parking lot, and we're set up at church an hour and a half before service time.
Wow.
Well, I didn't go when he told me to. I went and ate lunch. Because I thought, oh, this old man, he's ridiculous. I'm not gonna go that early.
You're so experienced, you know better.
Exactly. Yeah. So And I get there, and he is furious. And he said, "Where have you been? I told you what time." And I said, "Don't yell at me." He said, "Well, you were supposed to be here at this time, and now you've made me late for my funeral." And I said, "Stop yelling at me." And he said, "I'm not yelling. This is how I talk." And so he said, "Get in the van." And then he didn't talk to me the rest of the time.
Oh no.
But what I like to do is talk to families when I'm at the book and registered, signing people in. And he noticed that, and I was picky on how the flower arrangement was, and I did it very similar to how he did it. When I got back to the service center, they said, "How was your funeral?" Because he called and complained about me. And I said, "It was great. That's the best funeral ever. We should do exactly like they do, because they give a lot of service to their family." And the gentleman I worked for, he said, "Okay, well, that's not quite what he said." But so the next service they had, they said, "Send that Kenny kid over here." And then him and I that was it, inseparable. Went everywhere together. Yeah.
How did Ray Mish go ahead and start and get you involved in starting this partnership in this business?
He sold his funeral home, and he was going to retire.
Right.
And his wife, Betty, ended up passing away. And he was very bored. So Ray said, "I'll sell the funeral home." So he did. It was hard for him, and he was still running
They did it the corporate way.
They did.
Yeah.
So they ousted him, and anyone that was a Mish, like myself, they considered me a Mish boy, because I was right at his side. Ray and I both went to another funeral home here in town. A gentleman had opened up. That was some of Ray's troubles, was because he helped a man open his funeral home up here in town.
And violated his non-compete?
No compete, yeah, and he violated that. So
okay.
Ray wanted to be a boss. I was used to being with Ray being the boss. We found this building here on 531 California Avenue. We looked over the back fence, came over, and David was still at Mish.
Right.
And he called him and said, "We're at a building right now, and we're going to open a funeral home." David said, "No, I'm going to stay here." And he said, "We're opening it anyway." So, yeah. And then eventually David came in as a third partner.
And his non-compete had run out by that point.
Once they canceled that non-compete.
When you became a partner, what was different about being a partner in the business versus being an employee?
You know, I would say probably the pressure of having to perform, knowing like, okay, this is mine.
Right.
It's part of mine. I can do whatever I want to do. However I want to talk to a family, speak openly, just talk normal instead of trying to be very, proper and
sure.
yes, and cross the hands up.
Right.
Indeed. Yeah,
Sure,
it's kind of creepy.
Right.
So I use a lot of comedy when I'm sitting with families.
Right.
If I think something's funny, I'll say it.
Right.
And if I read the room. So a lot of times.
But you couldn't do that as an employee.
No, because you're worried about repercussions of, oh, I shouldn't have said that. And then,
what's HR going to say?
Exactly.
Right,
yeah.
right.
And we here at the funeral home didn't have all that.
Nice.
So I was able to just open up, and it helped me become better at arranging funerals and putting together tributes for people.
You mentioned that one of the difficulties that you had with other funeral homes is you were not a great salesman and not very good at upsells.
Right.
What makes Mission Family Mortuary different than everybody else here in town?
For one thing, we're family owned. That's a big veteran and family owned. Second thing is when we sit down, you're not going to be upsold on anything. You're not going to be spoon fed all this different types of products and things that we think you should buy. So it's just people. It's our family taking care of people.
Right.
That's all we do.
And speaking of veteran owned, we have this urn here. And tell us what's so special about this particular urn.
These urns are, they're made up in Washington, and they're blown by veterans that are learning how to blow glass. And it's part of their PTSD recovery, like a therapy.
Sure.
And so they learn this trade. And yeah, we're happy to have them.
One of the things that I've also noticed is over the last decade or so, there's been a tremendous uptick in cremations.
There has, yeah.
Walk us through very briefly one of the big downsides that a lot of people miss or think, okay, a cremation is cheaper than a traditional burial.
Correct.
But they're missing something oftentimes, what are some of the pitfalls that families fall into, thinking that, oh, just, I don't care what you do with me when I die, just cremate me.
And that's funny you said that, because we try and discourage people from telling their family, just cremate me. We like to prefer to tell people, if they can tell their family, hey, I want to be cremated. Do what you need to do to heal and find peace for yourself.
Funerals are for the living.
Yeah, and I mean, you can do all of the components of a standard funeral and then cremate after. They have chapel caskets and rental caskets. You can rent a casket.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay.
There's an insert that goes in this casket, and after the funeral, that insert, the end comes down and the whole unit rolls out, and that's your cremation vessel.
Really?
So you can rent that for a service, so people think, it's a rosary and the viewing, and then next day a service, and then where's the cemetery? Oh, we're cremating. And so you don't have the expense of the cemeteries.
And at the same time, the loved ones get to heal.
They do. Yeah, and we see it too. We see it from start to finish, and that whole process, it is a healing process. And it doesn't mean their journey's over on healing, because it's going to take years, but I think they feel satisfied in that they've taken care of someone they love.
And that brings us to our first Visioneer question, which is brought to you by Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier Agent with Watson Realty. Born and raised and never left Bakersfield. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. And Visioneers, if you've got a question, you've got a thought, something you'd like to learn about here on Small Business Celebration, reach out to us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and your question could appear here on Small Business Celebration, just like Camilla, who asks, I don't think I'm an excellent salesperson. How do I guide others in selling effectively? Because this is something you've got firsthand experience with. How do you teach your salespeople how to sell?
What I tell the guys here, as I say, you're not someone's financier. You're not in charge of their finances. So just show them what we have and let them decide on what they're going to buy. You can't force anyone to buy anything they don't want.
Take us through the process.
When we prefer to call them arrangers instead of salespeople.
Fair enough.
Once they sit down, we take them into a room, a comfortable room, because they're going to be emotional. They just lost someone.
Right, this is the client.
It's the client, yeah. We have a service portion on our contracts, and then we have a merchandise section, and then we have an outside cash advance section. Okay. We're going to focus on that service section. The funeral coaches, the embalming, dressing, casketing. We're going to ask them what they want. They're going to tell us we want a viewing and a service in the chapel and bury at National Cemetery. So we take them through that. And then once we get to the sales part, we tell them, now you have to pick out a casket. I can't pick that out for you, but I can show you we have a catalog here. And we usually start at the top and work our way down. We don't really sit there with them to do it. We kind of just leave the room and let the family look at the catalog.
Nice, brilliant.
Because, I don't like to go somewhere and someone's right, like when you're looking at a car. Right. That's a major purchase and they're right on you. It's like, leave me alone, let me just do this. Right. So, but yeah, we leave them alone. And that's the major purchase on a burial would be the casket. So, and that's how we operate. That's how there's 3 of us that do arrangements.
It sounds like what you lean on heavily is a standard operating procedure of this, then this, then this, then this. So all the emotion is taken out of it.
We try and focus and keep the family focused on the task at hand, because they're going to cry and they're going to grieve. But if we can get them through that process quick and efficiently, and they can make decisions they need rationally, that's all we're doing. But we don't fake console, can I hug you? No. I've got to. Our job is to make sure that your loved one is where they need to be, when they need to be, and we take care of all the people watching. It's like Ray used to tell us, it's like a movie production. You have like a live studio audience, which is the people attending. You have the directors, which are standing there orchestrating all the movement, and then you have the star of the show, which is the decedent person. That's the star, and then supporting cast is all the family, and that's how you run a funeral when you're actually working on the funeral.
Sometimes the difficult question comes. I can't afford it.
Right.
How do you help them through that?
Generally, we'll tell them all the different options they have. There's financing, and we try not to get people into financing. There's GoFundMe, and then there's friends. We always tell people never be afraid to ask your friends for help. And then we will lower our price for families that need it. So if a family is in need, we'll bring our costs down. If there's a veteran in need, like an indigent veteran, we will bury them for free.
Wow.
At National Cemetery, yeah.
Well done.
Yep, absolutely. And infants and children's too. We bury them at cost. It's at cost.
Very briefly, what is the process for when somebody passes away in the hospital or an auto accident or whatever, and to the final burial? Very briefly, what's the process like?
In a hospital or at home under hospice, and there's a doctor that's going to sign the certificate. We simply just go out to the location, and we have a team that will retrieve the body, bring them back to the funeral home. They'll go into either refrigeration, or the embalmer will embalm them if we have permission. Usually the next day we give families, a little time to situate. We call them the next day, and that's when they come into the funeral home.
If the family has a faith that requires it to be a certain amount of days, how does that system change things?
It changes a little bit. We have to focus on that, on permitting. That's what we need to do any disposition of someone. Nowadays it doesn't really, the way the world is right now, the way our state is, you really can't do those ceremonies like you used to, where they're in the ground in 3 days. But we try our hardest, 4 or 5 days.
Mission Family Mortuary does not own a cemetery.
No.
Is that intentional?
Cemeteries are expensive.
Yeah.
And then you have to have an endowment fund in there. It takes a lot of property, and then there's a lot of them here in Kern County. For us, it wouldn't be something we'd be able to, I think, even obtain. So
Right.
I've thought about it.
Right.
And I wish, but me being the salesman I am, I'd give all the plots away. I'd say, oh, I'm sorry, you can have that. So,
Funeral homes notoriously or infamously have hearses.
oh yeah.
Is there a special license one must have to drive one?
Nope, just a driver's license.
Really?
Yeah, you want to borrow it?
Sure, why not?
No, you just have your regular driver's license. Sometimes I forget I'm in the funeral coach. I'm just driving, and I look over and people are staring at me, and I'm all, what? And then, oh wait, I'm in the coach.
Yeah. Has anybody tried to speed race you while you're driving a hearse?
Someone has tried to speed race that funeral coach, like a straight out drag race.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna win. It's got our old coach had a Corvette engine in it, and you could smoke the tires. This one, it has a V8 in it, it's fast. So, good luck with that.
And that brings us to the Visioneer Game. Now, Visioneers, if you're not familiar with the way the game works, I have a random word generator here on my phone, and I have no idea what the random words that are going to be generated are. More importantly, neither does our guest. And our guest has to take each of 3 words that I give him and somehow associate that word with his business. Now, Kenny, you do realize the fate of the entire mortuary world is based on your ability to get these 3 words correct. Are you ready?
No. Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
Great, we're going to do it anyway. Okay, your first word is sample.
Well, that's a nice word. I was all scared. Yeah.
Molecular diapathy, it's not.
Yeah, that would have been a big one. I like it when people are calling around trying to pick out a funeral home, and we call it a shopper.
Right.
It sounds bad, but no, that's what they're doing. They're literally shopping for a funeral home. And so I think when they get a sample of what we can provide, when we start talking to them on the phone, and they're comfortable and they say, you know what, thank you, I like you, I'm gonna come in there. So it's nice to give them a sample of what's to come when they're going through their funeral arrangements.
Well done. You got your first word correct. Well done.
That was
you.
hard.
No worries.
Yeah.
Okay, your second word is extend.
Extend. Okay, that's a good word. Periodically, we have a family. Okay, occasionally we have families that are waiting for other family members to get into town so they can have their funeral services. And we never mind extending the time out a little farther so everyone can come to the funeral.
Well done. That's your second word. You got it right.
It's that easy?
It was that easy.
Oh, okay.
See? Okay, now this is your third word.
All right.
This is for all the marbles.
Okay.
It all comes down to this.
All right.
Are you ready? Flexible.
No, next. Yeah, so flexible. We're pretty flexible at our funeral home. We hardly say the word no to someone. We're very flexible. And that, actually, I'm kind of proud of that. So I'm glad that's one of the words, flexible. If you need something at a certain time, you'll never see us in our business rut of no. It doesn't work that way. We are flexible with everyone.
Well done. That's 3 for 3.
Save the world.
The mortuary world is safe at last.
Perfect.
Well done, you. You know, I was thinking about this a moment ago, and you were talking about flexibility, and you were talking about extended, and that led me to extended family. And Ray was part of your extended family.
He was.
It's a part of the family you choose. I have to ask, did you guys do his funeral?
We did.
Okay.
We had help with Ray. We had he had a friend in the business out in Ridgecrest,
right?
And they helped us with the funeral.
Nice.
It was hard.
I can imagine.
I pallbeared. We had a few pallbearers, but no, that was rough.
Right.
So we had help on that one.
When I got married, I didn't have a best man.
Right.
I had a best lady.
Yeah.
And she was an embalmer.
Aye.
And she's had all kinds of stories to tell over the years. Have you ever had a situation where something didn't happen right? Like, the back door of the hearse didn't latch correctly as you were pulling out of the parking lot? Or did you have anything interesting like that happen?
Yeah. Well, we do little flibs. Occasionally, there's a church truck that stays in the funeral coach.
Okay.
So when you get to a church, the casket comes out, sits on that truck, and then you can wheel it around the church.
Okay.
Occasionally, we won't check for the church truck, and we'll get to church, and there's no way to roll the casket around, so we have to wait 30 minutes for it to get there, which is really embarrassing. So things like that. We've never dropped bodies. We've seen other funeral homes picking up from us drop a body, and that's rough.
That's horrifying, actually. Yeah.
So,
what has this business for the last 20 years taught you about grief?
I think it's taught me that everyone grieves in their own way. There's no one way. I know we have books on grief and the stages. I don't necessarily think there's a system or a certain way people grieve. So I learned that quickly, that anger is not the 3rd stage, or denial could be the 10th stage. So it's just people hurting. I think that was one of the first things I learned, was there's no certain way to grieve.
Sometimes it takes a long time to get to acceptance.
Very long time. Decades, some people. So, and we'll see multiple families. They'll lose a loved one. A year later, they'll lose another one. Or we'll bury the person we sat down with to talk about burying their person. We'll see that 4 and 5 times. And sometimes you think to yourself, they're not done grieving yet, and they're losing more people. That's when we go in the back office and that's hard.
What puts the fun in funeral?
I would say the best part of this job and funerals is the traveling. We get to go all over the place, where most business people in a suit sit at a desk,
right?
Go to lunch, go to their desk, and go home. No, we're driving. We go to Arizona. We'll drive to San Francisco, San Diego. We're just all over the place. LAX. We're always somewhere different. And so it doesn't sound like it could be fun, but this job and this career it's a lot of fun.
It's taken you a lot of places.
Seen a lot of places, absolutely. Yeah.
It is tradition that at a funeral, people bring food. And some families bring lots and lots of food. What's some of the best food that you've had at a service?
Funeral food. That's something.
Put on a few pounds, huh?
When a family says, "Would you like to come to the reception?" Yes, we always do. It's always something. It could be anything, but yeah, funeral food is the best.
The best is?
I like when we have a like a gypsy family. I don't even know if we could say that anymore. Is that allowed? I'm going to say it anyway because they say it. Gypsy family.
Right.
They put a big tent out in the parking lot and they spit roast a pig.
Nice.
Yes, and then they have all this amazing food around it, vegetables and everything. So I like that. I like fried chicken.
Yeah.
And potato salad. Yeah.
So insider note, if you're having a funeral and you're having a reception after, have fried chicken so the people from the mortuary have something to eat.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. If we don't ask this, I'm going to get text messages galore on this. How do you watch your funeral?
Mine's very simple.
Okay.
Mine is going to be a viewing at the funeral home. And then the next day it'll be a rosary and mass, and then I'll be taken out to Shafter and placed in the ground in a casket. I already got my casket picked out. It's a pretty nice casket too. I upsold myself.
You know a guy.
I know a guy, yeah. I get the employee discount.
And that brings us to our second Visioneer question, which is brought to you by Mike Saba. Selling Bakersfield homes since 1992. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. This question comes from Visioneer Anthony, who asks, we operate a business that might be considered a sensitive topic by those outside our circle. How did you guide your children to handle what can sometimes be an awkward issue?
I have 3 girls, and as they grew up, we were really involved with every aspect of their life. Right. So other kids around the neighborhood, I knew them, they knew me.
Right.
Kids at school, we were way involved with school. We'd go take the limousine to St. Francis and take the kids around the school in the limousine.
Right.
Or on St. Patrick's Day, I'd get a piper to the school and I'd have my kilt on with a drum. And so rather than being the spooky, you know, Keely, Natalie McKenna's spooky dad, it's, oh, there's Mr. Mount. Where's your bagpipes? Or why aren't you dressed like a pirate? So we were really involved with the kids. So they never really had to worry about anything like that, a stigma of, you know, funeral home kids.
Right.
So I'm sure they got asked questions though.
You normalized it.
We did, yeah.
Why is this so important?
My youngest is going to continue on. She's going to mortuary college.
Congratulations.
And I was hoping that one of them would. And my oldest works here. I wanted them to be active in the funeral home as well, and take pride in that. It's a family business.
Right.
I just really wanted them to be a part of it and not afraid of it. And so since they're little, they've just been around the living impaired. We always say we're last responders. My dad's a last responder. So
nice,
yeah.
nice. How do you balance professionalism with the emotional context your clients are coming in with?
It's not really something I know how, I just don't know how to do it. I just do it. I think if you're just genuine when they walk in with the emotions, just extending your hand and telling them, come in here, let's sit down, we're going to handle everything, don't worry about it. I think just probably letting them know they're not going to have to do a bunch of stuff right now, that I'm taking that burden from them and I'm going to take care of everything for you.
And that's also part of the reason why you give them the catalog to choose from and then you leave.
Yeah, when they're picking their casket out. Yeah, let them decide, give them space, give them room. When someone comes into the funeral home, if they ask about anything funeral related, we have to present them with a general price list. It's the FTC rule. That can get awkward because I don't like for someone to say, hello, I just lost my husband. Oh, okay, here's a price list.
Right.
So there's a balance, but I think if it's just genuine, extend your hand, tell them you're going to help them, don't worry about anything. That kind of settles them. But we cry, but we just go in the back office and do it. So.
What do you say to a client who comes in that's grieving to help them feel better?
That's there's really not much you can say. I've heard people say, sorry for your loss, or it'll be okay, or how you doing? You don't want to say any of those things. Just a handshake and hey, I know what's happening right now and I'm here to help. That's probably what you say. Oh, you never say, I know how you feel. Oh, I know how you feel. It happened to me. Because no one knows how other people are feeling. Yeah, just throw your hand out there and say, I'm here to help you. What do you need?
Is it okay to be relieved when a loved one passes away?
It is okay. Yeah, definitely okay.
Why is that?
I think some people, like my wife, I lost my wife to cancer. At first, it was, we're going to chemo and there's hope and the disc is shrinking and her pancreas is looking better. And then it wasn't. And then she got thin and then she's under hospice. And there was a point to where me and the girls were saying, it's okay to go, because you just get to a point where you can't see it anymore. And you don't hope for death, but you just hope for some peace. So yeah, it is okay. It is okay to hope that someone goes peacefully and when you're watching them suffer. So
it's no secret that there's a lot of business owners that are having a difficult time right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
What do you say to the business owner that thinks that the American dream is dead and that all hope is lost?
Give it time. Keep your chin up. And I'm talking to me right now too. Wait it out, and it'll get better. It can't always be bad. So economy's coming back. Depending on your business, if it's a recession, ours is a little recession proof, but not as much as you think. So yeah, keep your chin up, keep working, and be proud of yourself, and you'll get through it. And yes, the American dream is still alive, I think.
Why is that?
The Americans that are here might not think so, but a lot of future Americans that are coming into the country and using all the opportunities, they see the American dream. So we need to start recognizing it again too. We're in the greatest country in the world, and yeah, I think people just need to start saying that to themselves. And once we're all chanting that, it'll just get better. So,
Kenny, this has been a real treat. Thank you for joining us here on Small Business Celebration.
Thank you for having me.
And if Visioneers want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Google Mission Family Mortuary.
Okay.
We're on Facebook, Mission Family Mortuary, 531 California Avenue. We are downtown California and S. If you get to where the Bakersfield Inn used to be, you went too far on California.
Phone number?
661-323-3339. Or just ask your phone. Say, hey Siri.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about why you should judge a person on their own principles and not your own.
Thank you, Michael. Do you know what the end game is for your business? Even if you don't plan to exit for 2 to 20 years, it's always best to start with the end game in mind. You have one chance to exit your business at top dollar value. If you'd like to learn more, please visit my website at plannedexits.com.
Why you should judge people on their own principles and not your own. Several years ago here on Small Business Celebration, I interviewed the guest that represented a restaurant that was a collective. Yes, a restaurant where everybody got paid the same and everybody worked together. And it's one of those kind of restaurants where everybody has to agree on major decisions, on what has to happen. And there was a very interesting conversation to be had. For example, one of the downsides was that when there was a member that wasn't pulling their own weight, that wasn't being a good fit for the culture of the restaurant, it took forever for everybody to agree to let this person go. And it just about capsized the restaurant in the process. However, when one of their suppliers, a farmer, had a water main that burst in the middle of the night and was flooding the field, every single member of that restaurant was out at that field within an hour, plus their families, helping that farmer save the crop. Now, not that long ago, I was at a mixer, and I overheard somebody else talking to this representative there, and he asked him, he said, how can you be friends with all of these people? You disagree with them politically, you disagree with them philosophically, you disagree with them just about on everything, and yet you're friends with all of them. And that's when he smiled and he quoted Martin Luther King Jr., who once said, "I judge a person based on their own principles, not my own. I hope you enjoyed our conversation this week here on Small Business Celebration, and I hope you learned something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business. And we'll see you here again next week when we celebrate another small business making a big breakthrough.
The most unique funeral was probably a husband and wife that passed away within a day of each other, and they were both present for the service in their caskets, and they were head to toe. It was just romantic. Flowers everywhere, and then just twice the size of a normal service. And then they had a piper and dove release. They had all the things. And I said, this is a beautiful service. Number one thing to not do when you're pre-planning your funeral is make 7 years of payments on it. You're going to want to try and pay it all if you can up front, or just spend a couple years paying, because the more you pay, you're going to overpay for your funeral. A 7-foot person can fit in an urn. It goes by bone density. So height and weight and those things, they're a factor, but it's how dense the bone is. So I would say you or myself in this urn would be about right there.
Really?
Yeah. Depending, you might have thick bones, you might be there. How we cremate a body is they go into a cremation container, the person, and then there's a retort, and it's a chamber they go into, and door closes, fire starts, and a couple hours later, door comes open, and there's your cremated remains. That's the short version of it. So there's some other little things that happen in there, but I'd rather not talk about it.
How does one do a decedent's makeup and hair?
We call the hairdresser.
Really?
Cosmetics we do. For gentleman's hair, we do gentleman's hair. But for a woman that has, especially greatest generation that always did the curls,
Right.
we have an Elena, we call her. She comes
Nice.
in and does it. And it's ironically only half of a haircut, half of a style, because the rest is on a pillow. Yeah. But I could do curls. Yeah. I could do smoky eyes. Yeah. I could do smoky eyes. Yeah. Never, ever do this at a funeral home. Do an office pop with your pistol out at the cemetery. Pop! We've had that happen. We've been shot at, too. We had to, like, jump on the ground. And then we all can still carry, so I'm like Magnum PI. I'm all, everyone stay down. I got you. Never ask a funeral home if the family can take tattoos from someone for memorabilia. We've had that question before. Can we get their tattoos and stretch them on a hide like they do in Japan? No, we don't want to do that. So